Hey guys, this is GameCore for the win here, doing my first ever commentary on this Pokemon Emerald walkthrough part 13. I call it the Winstrate Family because, as you can tell here, I'm going to challenge the so-called Winstrate Family and into a series of 4 battles. So basically, all what happens here is you have to fight 4 trainers in a row. There's no saving, healing in between them. So it's basically like you're going against 8 Pokemon in a row. It's pretty easy. They don't have super tough Pokemon. As long as you're around level 20 as your starting Pokemon, you'll be fine. The only way you will really struggle is if you're around 15, in which they might get some hits off. And since you can't necessarily heal in between these battles, you might have some faints in your party. So that into consideration. As you can see there, the Zigzagoon had an Oran Berry. I'm not necessarily sure of how many berries they have. Maybe, like, they all have berries. Maybe only one of them has a berry. Maybe Zigzagoon only had one berry, but maybe they have different berries. But yeah, as long as you just have, like, some of a higher level, just taking them out, you shouldn't struggle. Like, as you will see, most of their Pokemon I just one-shot. There's just necessarily no competition. Here I switch out mainly because Mudkipper is horrible against grass. All his moves are not very effective. I think Tackle is normal because it's just a normal move, but the thing with grass is super effective against not just water but also ground. Since Mudkipper is water ground, means it's not just super effective, it's like double super effective. So if you would take a lot of damage if, let's say, it used Mega Drain or something, I don't know if you can get Mega Drain. Probably can. It probably has some grass moves. I think its majority of its moves are poison actually, but I don't actually know. So, third battle here, as you can see in the last battle, it's just one Pokemon. I think the first one has 2, the second one has 1, this one has 3, and I think the last one only has 1. And it's pretty easy. There's not much else to say there. You can just tackle the Mud Barrel. It does have Defense Curl, which I don't think is necessarily that bad. He was good in this situation because I think if it got any lower, they probably used to use the berry. I kind of overshot there, but it didn't have a berry. Just nice. Like I said before, they might have multiple different forms of berries, or might not have berries at all. I don't know. It probably won't affect you. It's pretty simple. And speaking of berries, I generally never use them, just because the only nice thing over a potion and a berry is in later stages if you're doing like the battle tower or something like that, you can have berries which heal them, or it can save you a turn basically. The only problem with berries is that they're just like half the time Pokemon uses a berry when you don't want them to use them. Like you're training and then all of a sudden you just get like a critical hit you. You're like, okay, well it doesn't matter, I can still one-shot this thing, and then all of a sudden your Pokemon uses your Citrus Berry, and you're like, wow, I only had 3 of those. That's great. So that's one reason I don't necessarily pick them. Other than that, unless you are doing the Battle Tower and stuff like that, Battle Frontier, not gonna necessarily need it over a potion. And speaking of which, you can just use a berry like as a potion. The only other good thing about berries is you can just grow them, which is understandable if you have like no money, but seeing as potions are extremely cheap, only kind of expensive in the later stages when you're getting like full restores, there's nothing hard about it. So last Pokemon here is a Meditite. If you're using a flying Pokemon, you'll just dominate it. It basically Meditite, as you can tell, it has attack rises. It might actually be a bit of a longer battle, but again, it's not very hard. Especially since it hasn't even attacked me yet. It's just used a boost move and 2 defense moves, so Yeah, there it goes. You see, Mudkipper, my starting, didn't even take damage there. So, again, very easy. When you go into their building, they will give you the match brace. I think that's what it's called. Basically, what it does is when you hold on to it, it'll lower the speed. Not permanently, just when you have it hold on to, have it held on. But it will give you a stat gain when you level up. It's not very big, but it's nice. It's just, if you want your Pokemon to be better in later stages than it normally would, just equip it. It will lower your speed if you are kind of a speedy guy. I'm somewhat of a speedy guy, but seeing as I give it to my Mudkipper, which already has like horrible speed stat, yeah, it's just speed stat. It's not gonna outrun anything fast. So I just say whatever. Its speed stat's already really bad. Have Pokemon level 9 levels below it, or a pretty much outrun it most of the time. I also, before, I had the Quick Claw on it, which is nice. But I find it really inconsistent. Half the time, like, it will happen and I'll be like, oh, I have a faster speed stat, and then it does half damage to me. I'm like, okay, well, it's okay, I can just one-shot it back, and then, because I used the Quick Claw the first time, it kills me, because I didn't realize that. So, I find it inconsistent. I find it just makes my Pokemon faint, actually, instead of helping them. But you get it early. If you just want to equip it, just because you have nothing else to equip, just go for it. There's something wrong with equipping stuff. So, here I just get some antidotes, paralyzed heals, awakenings. You always want to have some antidotes and paralyzed heals on you, just because you can't... Sorry, stuck in my teeth. You can't get rid of, like, if your Pokemon's paralyzed or poisoned, you can't get rid of that stat. I think in the future, when you can get rid of poison, or poison can go away in the current generations, but before, I'm not sure it could. Awakenings, you don't need them necessarily as much, but they're just helpful in the battle in case you do get stuck. Your Pokemon gets put to sleep, and you just need to, like, you can't really necessarily swap it out. It's just like a nice, cheap, again, you just buy 5 of them, they'll last you the whole game. Well, not the whole game, but you won't need to buy any more. So here I use my Sableye. Now, Sableye isn't necessarily like a Pokemon I'm gonna train for my party, it's just a Pokemon I'm gonna give the HM moves I don't want to it. That's the nice thing about Pokemon like Sableye and Machop is, like, if you don't want to use it, you can just give them, like, Cut, Flash, Rock Smash, Strength. All those moves just aren't necessarily that great. So, instead of using them on your, like, my Mudkipper and my Lowtail, I just can, like, just give it to it, and you can just, since I only have 2 Pokemon right now, I just carry it around. It has all my HMs with me. So, then again, the nice thing about Sableye too is that you can get it in an early level. I found an Emerald, you can actually get matched up that early. I thought I was going to be able to get a lot sooner. I thought it was actually what I was going to use before, when I first started doing this Let's Play. But no, I changed it here, and I was like, I might as well go with Sableye. The interesting about Sableye, actually, is that it has no weakness, which means it can be super effectively hit against anything because of its Ghost Dark attributes. The only problem with Sableye is its stats are crap. Its move list is also pretty not so good. So if I don't know why you'd want your team. It looks kind of cool, I guess. I don't know. I didn't necessarily like it. So it's up to you. Again, I don't decide these things. I'm just here for advice. And speaking of my party, as you know, I have 2 Pokemon I'm mainly using right now. They're both high levels, and I'm thinking about catching some more. I'm thinking about catching a Trapinch. The reason I don't have any more right now is basically because many of the really good, like third tier Pokemon, have really bad pre-evolutions. So if you take Salamence for example, which is amazing Pokemon, its pre-evolutions, Shelgon I think, and Bagon are just horrible. I mean, when Bagon evolves into Sheldon, I think it actually loses stats. So, it's kind of funny. But, then again, once you get Salamence, whole game changes. It's amazing. It's better than most starters in the games. So, yeah. The only other problem about Salamence, if you're doing like a Let's Play or like a run through, you get fairly late. Which in a way is kind of good, because then it's already like level like 30, and you don't have to train it very much. Just get Shelgon, which is not great, but yeah, you won't necessarily be able to like tackle most of the gyms with it. I'm not even sure if you can get to Elite Four with it the first time. So, another Pokemon which is kind of like that is, the one Aeron evolves out of. I was thinking originally about getting Aeron, and I realized that Steel Rock is a pretty poor typing, largely because ground just decimates it, water decimates it, grass I don't think decimates it, but does normal damage. And it really, actually, when you think about it, doesn't have very many resistances. It's not good against fire anymore, because fire is good against steel. It's not good against grass anymore, because grass is good against rock. It's really good against normal, but since in the later stages no one uses normal, so I decided not to use it. I was thought about it, and then I decided. The main reason I think I decided was because Aeron and Larion are horrible, and then its final evolution. When you have typing like that, you need a high speed stat so you don't get hit that much. And its final evolution, I'm sorry, I forget the name, but it has a pretty poor speed stat, if I remember correctly. A lot of them do, so... God, yeah. Another Pokemon mentioned around that is Metagross, one of the most popular Steel types of all time. It has some pretty poor first evolutions. So I decided I think you get it after being the Elite Four. So I just I don't think I will train it up even if I do beat it. It is good, don't get me wrong. Metagross is good. It's just raise a Beldum to like level 50 is not something I'd like to do in my free time. But the reason why I'm thinking about getting Trapinch is, one, I get early, again, like after the 4th gym or something like that, where you can actually go into the Sandstorm. There's times in this video, as you will see, that I try to go into the Sandstorm, just seeing if I can actually go into like a wild spot and potentially find one. Hopefully not take it out since I have level like 20s. But the nice thing about Trapinch is I really like Flygon. It's one of my favorite Pokemon of all time. It just looks cool. It sounds cool. I mean, it's like its name is Flygon. It's just, it defines the word Pokemon in my mind. Its typing's interesting too. It's like a Dragon Ground Pokemon that can learn Fly, as the name probably implies. So yeah, it's neat to have a non-flying type learn Fly. It doesn't happen a lot. Not a lot at all. So yeah, it's neat. It's definitely neat. So as you can tell there, I just did a double battle. Nothing hard about it. Pretty easy. Yeah, both my Pokemon are level 27. Honestly, I am not a huge fan of Swellow, or as I named mine, Lowtail, but the nice thing about having Pokemon like... Sorry, my audio just kind of went out there. But as I was saying, the nice thing about having a bird Pokemon in your 6th party is that it can, well, learn Fly. The nice thing about having Fly always with you is you can just travel anywhere. It's very easy. I mean, if you don't have flying your power, you're always going to be walking around using the bike. You'll probably have to use a lot of repels. It won't necessarily affect you right now, like where I'm at, because, well, obviously I don't have fly at this stage, but later on, especially if you're just training elsewhere, if you have bird Pokemon on your team, it's helpful. One of my other only problems with Slow is that it only evolves once, like most of the other starting birds from the other generations. Most notably, the one from the first, like Pidgey, which was also in the second generation as its main flyer. From the fourth generation, there's Starly. Forget about the fifth generation. I think it was decent there too. But oh yeah, we're start with you. And all the Pokemon in the fifth generation had names. Kinda hard to remember. But my favorite one of those four was probably Staraptor from the fourth generation. Largely because it could learn a fighting move, which was outstanding since Brock is really good against bird Pokemon. So to have a bird Pokemon which knows a fighting move is just awesome. Because it just totally negates that problem. The only problem with having a fighting move on the bird Pokemon is which means it's going to be using its attack stat, and most rock Pokemon and steel Pokemon have a pretty high defense stat, so you're not going to one-shot them usually. So here I learned Endeavor. That's okay, I guess. I don't know. It's usually better than the Focus Energy though, since Focus Energy is really inconsistent. Since all it is it makes the critical hits more likely, which in some ways is good, especially if your Pokemon has an ability like Super Luck, which its critical hits are already even boosted, like chances. But you're wasting a turn just so you can use like critical hit next turn, when if you just use the attack move twice, you'll probably do more damage anyways. I don't necessarily get it. So here luckily, speaking of critical hits, I get one right there. And yeah, I should probably catch some other Pokemon, largely because this is really easy. Like, I'm just going through these guys. Which is nice, actually, since I haven't actually trained these guys up that much. Like, off screen, I probably only trained them like 2 levels, so now we are progressing to near the end of the video. I really thank you if you watched the whole thing. It's my first commentary I've ever done. Compared to most other people, it was probably pretty bad. One last thing, if you just see random people walking around, might as well talk to them. As you can see here, you got an item. Just a raspberry. It's not great, but free stuff. Can't go wrong with it. But yeah, as I was saying, if you just send a like, favorite, like the usual thing. I know everybody asks for it, but it just helps out, as obviously you can tell, as everybody says it does. But yeah, it's first commentary ever. I enjoy this game a lot. It's definitely fun. So, I'll let the rest of the video just kind of progress. This is Game Corner for the win. Signing off.